How's it going, everyone? This is K Collection's happy 2nd anniversary. Lots of things to look forward to. GSSR banner, some tickets, 30 whole Saint Quartz which we received today, and best of all, the world's greatest detective can be summoned. The banners and rewards will most likely be announced at Anime Expo Convention around July 4th. Nonetheless, I'll break down his stats, skills, give some CE and T recommendations, as well as talk about his strengths and weaknesses. His attack stats are the highest among all the rulers, but when compared to all the other 5 stars, he is towards the middle to lower half, just a bit less than Berserker Vlad, but higher than Brynhildr. His HP will be the lowest out of the 5-star rulers. He is an arts-focused servant, thankfully possessing 2 quick attacks, which will help with star gen and NP gains. By performing an Arts Quick Arts Brave Chain, Sherlock will gain almost 40% NP. Star Gen is decent for his class. Brave Chains involving his Buster and Quicks will give you around 20 stars. For active skills, it offers a lot of utility. Natural Insight gives you up to 20 stars to use instantly. Holmes isn't the strongest star generator, so this skill will help you in that area. NP Seal is obviously effective in delaying noble phantasms, but unlike charge reduction, NP Sealing prevents an enemy from using their attack or charging it. We all experience a battle with Douchey Gil, or something similar where we decrease the charge only for them to use an NP gaining skill, resulting in our untimely and unjust deaths. Deductive Reasoning will give him anywhere between 400 to 700 star weights, which is amazing. The best time to use this would be whenever he has access to both his arts. Consider this skill as a method to charge his NP, but obviously if you can perform a Brave Chain or dish out high damage, then use it for the crit damage. Of course, this skill is meaningless if you don't have stars to use. The debuff immunity is a nice bonus. His final skill is great for survivability and NP charging. I recommend saving this for the evasion because there's basically only 2 arts attack you can use. His NP does not deal damage, so the boost won't be as effective. Regardless, I still recommend maxing this skill first, then max out his first skill, then save his second skill for last. What's amazing about Holmes is that his skill has a lot of synergy for NP gains and crit damage. So if you need the stars, you can activate his first skill to gain those stars, and then he can absorb those stars with his second skill, and if by chance you have 2 arts attack during your turn, you can activate his third skill for massive NP gains. Sherlock has only 1 passive skill, but it's a good one. Territory Creation is the reason why he has solid NP gains. His Noble Phantasm is the main selling point. It's an AoE debuff that decreases enemies' defense while boosting your team's crit damage, with the added bonus of ignoring defense buff effects. This is great because it means your attack will go through and you'll almost always deal exact damage unless you get hit with an attack down or something. What makes him so good is that his NP can be spammed, meaning your whole team will constantly have their crit damage buffed and enemies will have their defense down. Break bars are becoming normal for NA. Crit damage offers an alternative for high damage output without solely relying on NP attacks. For CE recommendations, 2030 is possibly the best craft essence for Holmes. You need to provide your team with a constant flow of crit stars to be effective. If you want him to have a bit more NP gains and damage, use Chocolatier since it gives you some stars, but also increases his art's performance. If you want him to be more offensive, increase his crit damage. He has a star gathering skill but lacks a crit buff outside his NP, so the boost can help him during the turns where his NP isn't ready. When it is ready, then he'll hit like a truck. Also a good thing. Tranquility will help with his overall performance, especially NP gains. Cosmos isn't really necessary, but it does offer a lot of consistency, especially on the turns where he cannot attack. For team members, funny enough, James Moriarty works very well with Holmes. It's amazing how much synergy they have. Being an archer, James has naturally high star weights, giving him no trouble for star absorption. He'll benefit from the crit buffs, can increase Sherlock's attack, and both servants have a star absorption buff for 1 turn. This gives you tremendous star gathering control. If you think Sherlock will benefit from the stars, use a skill. Same thing can be said for James. Lastly, one of Moriarty's skill requires 10 stars to activate, something Holmes can provide right away. Now there are 3 important elements you must have in order to create an effective team with Sherlock Holmes. First, you must have a DPS servant with average to high star weights, so archers and riders are great. Or have a servant with a star gathering skill like Jalto, Raiko, Lancelot, you get the idea. Second element, You'll need a supporter that provides buffs and survivability for your team, since Holmes does not buff damage outside of crits, nor does he offer any survivability for your team members. Finally, you will need a way to generate stars, whether it be equipping 320/30s if you're a whale like me, stars generated from your DPS servant or supporter, making Merlin an obvious team member as long as you have a solid buster crit servant with you, like Dappergrams. Joan of Arc is another solid choice since she provides team survivability. Her revelation can also provide you with a few stars to use, although it's best if you have another servant who can generate the stars since the skill alone isn't enough. Since both servants are ruler class, you'll have a pretty tanky team. Finally, you can use a DPS servant who can generate stars like Okita, Jack, Melt, Enkidu, and servants that are similar work just as fine. A benefit of having your main attacker being your team star generator is that it offers more flexibility when choosing your supporter. Not that Merlin or Anderson isn't good, it just gives you more options. You won't go very far if you have a team composed of Waver, Holmes, and Jolter. You'll barely do crit damage because you're not consistently generating stars. But if you have Okita, Holmes, and Waver, now you fulfill most of the 3 elements that I talked about earlier. Reason why I like Okita is because she can increase her star weight and crit strength, something Jack can't do. Final thoughts on Sherlock Holmes. He isn't the next Waver or Merlin, far from that, but when you think about the best art supporter, Tomomo pops up. Buster, it's Merlin. For quick, it's Scotty. Holmes can be considered one of the best crit damage supporter. You may think, well, Merlin and Waver can increase crits as well. That's true, not taking anything away from that, but the buffs are connected to their active skills, which has its own pros and cons. Timing, for example, is great, but an active skill will lose effect within a few turns. When done correctly, Holmes can constantly buff crit damage, but you'll sacrifice timing since you can't control how much NP he gains. Again, there's pros and cons to everything. So because he's a ruler, Holmes can be a tank and a damage dealer thanks to his above average damage modifier and high attack stats. Now, buffing crit damage isn't the only reason why he's a good servant. It's due to the combination of effects from his NP. I said this earlier, having good NP gains means he can spam his noble phantasm. This means your enemies will constantly have their defense debuff and your damage output will rarely, if ever, be affected. Lastly, his skills offers a lot of utility and it's all on a 5-turn cooldown when maxed out. So for weaknesses, being a ruler means he won't deal effective damage often, most of his active skills last only a turn, so timing is everything. Worst thing about him is that he does not offer any team survivability aside from an NP seal. His own survivability is great, but not being able to help your team as much does limit your team selection a bit. Now, I may get a lot of hate for saying this, but I do not recommend Holmes to new players. Reason being is that he's a very complex servant to use. He's not like Merlin or Waver or even Jolter, where you press a few buttons and you're good to go. This game, let's be honest, it's not complex or anything, but timing is everything when using Holmes. Most importantly, as a new player, you may not have the right servants to use. Remember the 3 factors to consider I talked about during team builds? Those 3 elements are really important. But even if you're a new player, it's not like you won't benefit from having him, and if you like this servant, go for it. It's just that you may not fully utilize him in the beginning. Now, if you played this game for some time now and you have a good list of servants to use, Holmes is amazing to have. He offers an alternative way to beat break bars. He's obviously not on the same level as the 2 wizards or even the altars, but he offers something different. Overall, Sherlock Holmes is a great servant. I highly recommend summoning him. Then again, waifus in swimsuits are close, so I'm feeling conflicted. Special thanks to all my patrons for supporting me. If you want to support my channel, check out my Patreon. So, will you summon for Holmes? If so, how many Saint Quartz will you use? Or are you saving for summer? I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more FGO content. Follow my Twitter, Instagram, and join my Discord server. All links are in the description. Good luck on your pose, everyone. Have an awesome day.